Welcome back, everyone. While many more reasons could be given, in this video, I'd like to share with you 5 reasons to reject the Quran. First, it's always fun to appeal to Muslims' favorite Bible scholar who, speaking as a historian, says that the Quran is not a reliable record of the past.
Would it ever be reasonable to dismiss all the evidence for a historical figure for 600 years and then only take a scripture that comes 600 years later as the most credible source, such as in the case of Jesus, where he lived and died, and then 600 years later the Quran came and told us what really happened?
No, I don't think it's not historically credible. No, I don't think it's not historically credible. Not historically credible.
Additionally, on this channel, we've seen that the Quran frequently recites later Jewish and Christian legends as actual historical events. We can trace the origins of these legends. In some cases, they arise from rabbinic wordplay. But in the Quran, these stories become the word of Allah and events decreed by Him. All the while, the Quran is claiming to affirm the Torah and Gospel. So whether it's the Quran's unhistorical history, its confusion about the biblical text, or bizarre assertions such as Jesus was not crucified, the Quran cannot be trusted as a reliable record of the past. And if you can't trust it as a reliable record of the past, what makes you think you can trust it for the present or the future? Next, the Quran subjugates women. But how does the Quran subjugate women? I'm glad you asked. In part by privileging men to the disadvantage of women. For example, men can have more wives. But how does this one husband, many wives thing work out? Well, to answer that question, we can turn to the Hadith to see how it worked out for the greatest example of all time, Muhammad. Now, you're wondering how I said that with a straight face. Lots of practice. And 8 tries. The Hadith attest to numerous problems with Muhammad's many marriages. We frequently read of anger, jealousy, and trickery. Here are a couple of examples. You can read them if you like. But fortunately, Muhammad had a way out of all this drama, if he wanted it. It may be that, if he divorces you, his Lord will give him in exchange better wives than you. Unfortunately, it's not possible for any Muslim men out there to implement the Quran's marriage plan better than Muhammad. So strife, trickery, and jealousy are the best you can hope for. Fortunately, it's the women who have to deal with those problems the most, not the men. Additionally, Muslim men get to have a lot of intercourse. They can have sex with all of their wives, and in case that isn't enough, take a turn with their slave girls as well. But what does being used for sex do to women? Who cares? Allah said you can. Also, Muslim men can strike their wives. This is where we encounter the argument from the Muslim echo chamber that strike here means to tap lightly. Yeah, well, the Quran uses the same word for a variety of actions, including Moses striking the rock with his staff and striking necks and fingers. This word has a wide semantic range, which means it's left up to, you guessed it, Muslim men to interpret as they wish. It's too bad Allah left this verse so unclear. Maybe you don't see a problem with any of this yet. In that case, Islam is the perfect religion for you. Reason number 3, just when you think it can't get worse, the Quran allows sex with prepubescent girls in Surah 65. Or in the words of a great scholar with a somewhat artificial sounding name, here's Muhammad Ajab.
The reason why it's haram to have sexual intercourse with a 5-year-old is not found in the Quran whatsoever. It's found in the Sunnah, and in fact, if you look just at the Quran, you will get the indication that you can have sexual intercourse with a 5-year-old.
Great book you have there, Muslims. Number 4, the Quran is deceptive. It claims to be on the same continuum of the scriptures of the Jews and Christians, but it actually opposes the morals of these books. When Jesus was questioned about divorce in Deuteronomy, a law made due to the hardness of hearts, Jesus replied, "Have you not read that he who created them from the beginning made them male and female, and said, Therefore a man shall leave his father and his mother, and hold fast to his wife, and the two shall become one flesh. So they are no longer two, but one flesh. What therefore God has joined together, let not man separate." Of course, Jesus is referring to Genesis 1 and 2. To the author or authors of the Quran who claim to be on the same continuum as the Torah and Gospel, while at the same time writing about multiple wives, sex slaves, and prepubescent girls, I would have liked to have asked Jesus' words, "Have you not read? How did we go from the divine design in Genesis, confirmed in Matthew 19, so far backwards in the Quran, when the Quran claims to be on the same continuum as the Torah and Gospel? We could look at example after example of the Quran being ignorant of and contradicting the Torah and Gospel, which it only speaks positively of, and nowhere claims corruption, contrary to the Islamic apologetic echo chamber's common refrain. When the Quran claims continuity with the Torah and Gospel, it's simply being deceptive. But it's not just that the Quran is being deceptive. The Quran is really deceptive. Not only does the Quran appear entirely clueless about the books it claims to affirm, the God of the Quran isn't even the same as the God of the Bible. Time after time, we can look at major theological points that weave their way from cover to cover of the Bible. The temple is a great example. Temple imagery is replete in the creation account and is a major theme throughout the rest of the Torah and the Hebrew Bible. In the New Testament, the temple becomes even more personal with the incarnation and God dwelling among his people through the work of Christ. In Revelation, the ever-expanding temple becomes worldwide because God's dwelling place is with his people. The temple is a major theme in the Bible from cover to cover. You cannot miss it. Now let's see what the Quran, on the same continuum as the Jewish and Christian scriptures, says about this theology. Theology so important that nobody could miss it except for the author of the Quran. This is one example of a comparative theological study that can be done between the Bible and Quran that easily demonstrates that the Quran's God isn't even the same God, and that makes the Quran very deceptive. So here are 5 reasons out of many to reject the Quran. It can't be trusted for the past, present, or future. It subjugates women. It allows sex with prepubescent girls, and it's deceptive, very deceptive. Selecting 5 reasons out of so many possible ones is a tough job. Maybe you think you can do better. Let me know what your 5 reasons would be in the comments section. Or maybe you're a Muslim and you think you have some answers. I doubt it, but you can try in the comments section as well. Thanks so much for watching. I'll see you next time.